Well, let me not start crying to start. and I knew Rodney was introducing me. We haven't seen each other for 3.5 years, 4 years, and he's a remarkable young man at that point. But to see what he's doing now, if you guys are a lot of smart, savvy investors, if you want to invest in this young man, and you're going to do very, very well. But I'm just so proud of what you've accomplished, and so proud about what you're going to accomplish going forward. It's a pretty amazing story. Keep going, keep going. We're all right behind you. I know it's been a long day and hopefully a really interesting day. I'm not going to make any long speech. I'd love to have our 3 student panelists come up, and we'll get right to the Q&A with them. And I'll ask a few questions and really want to open it up to all of you to engage in the conversation. But just want to say I'm thrilled to be here. I got my start in public education helping to start a small public school in the south side of Chicago. My sister and I had the idea to try and create a great public school in a neighborhood that had been desperately underserved. My best friend John Rogers helped to fund this school and fund the after-school program. He had the brilliant idea of having the school have a financial literacy curriculum. And Area Community Academy has gone on to do some pretty extraordinary things. So this one is a personal battle for me. I think so many of our nation's young people aren't getting the knowledge and the skills and the access they need. And as a country, we're paying a huge price for that. And I think so many of the answers and innovative ideas are going to come from you. So thrilled to be here. I'll stop there and get into the Q&A. And here we go. I just ask our student panelists to just introduce themselves quickly and sort of say how you got here. And a couple questions and open up to all of you to hear from them. I think we hear some fascinating stories.
Hello, I'm Precious Collier. I am a junior at UCA, University of Central Arkansas. I look like a high school student. I'm not. I'm a college student. I get that a lot. I'm majoring in family consumer science and education, and I'm also minoring in French. I'm really looking forward to being a part of the family consumer science field because it teaches individuals how to think critically and also problem solving. And so, yes.
Hello, my name is Douglas O'Neill. I'm a senior from Digital Harbor High School. I was selected here from my internship of Urban Alliance through Hope of Operation, and I'm just thankful and grateful for this opportunity.
My name is Matthew Bloom, and I go to school at Benjamin Logan High School, and I'm currently taking Family and Consumer Science Personal Finance class. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot and got to experience a lot of good things to help further my career. And I'm just really thankful to be here.
Precious, I'll start with you. You're the oldest, and at the end of the line, we'll work right down the line. But just tell me how you got interested in financial literacy, and what has that led you to think about going forward?
I took a class, Personal Family Finance. Dr. Campbell is taking a picture of me, was my teacher.
She didn't look proud at all of you.
I really enjoyed the class, and it taught me a lot of things that I feel will be very helpful, especially being a teacher and career. I think it's also important for college students because we don't know a lot about what to do with our money. My peers have a lot of credit card debt already, so they don't know how to manage their credit cards, and it's kind of this think about now and not think about the future. So, yes.
Precious, let me ask one more follow-up. You come from Arkansas. Arkansas is one of the poorest states in the nation. And what do you see in relationship between what you're learning and the need for empowering people in your home state?
And I actually am from Dallas, Texas, and so I think that's cool too. That for Arkansas, I believe if being a teacher, I can show students what they can do with their money and be a good example as well in my career.
Douglas, how did you get interested in this? What's your background? How did you end up here?
I end up here through my internship, and like I said before, it's a paid internship, so they teaches us how to manage and use our money in a useful way, and I just relish the opportunity because a lot of kids in Baltimore don't get the opportunity to do what I'm doing. I actually have kind of like 2 internships because I'm at the mayor's office on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm at the police department on on Wednesday. And my dream is to become a detective, and Urban Alliance just done an amazing job, and just teaching me how to manage my money, and showing me the importance to education.
Again, just to follow up on that, if more of your friends in Baltimore had these kinds of opportunities to learn, how would it impact them? How would it change their lives?
I think it would. I think it would impact their lives dramatically because, like I said, everybody's not aware of financial literacy, and they don't know how to use their money. And I think if you use your money useful, you get better results. And that's what I've been getting. And I think that if it was more programs like this throughout the country, you know, a lot more students would be interested in staying in school and other things like that.
And Matthew, I'd like to ask, one, how you got interested, and two, Matthew also scored in the top 20% of young people nationally. Let's give him a round of applause on the Financial Capability Challenge. So, how did you get interested? How did you get so interested, and how did you do so well?
Okay, well, it pretty much all started when I was a younger child, about the 4th grade. I saw my parents go through a lot of financial problems, and I saw my grandparents go through the same kind of things, and I just hated the way that they were feeling about this, and I just told myself I never wanted to have to go through this. And more than anything, you know, I just wanted to be wealthy and not have to worry about not being able to pay for things. So I told myself I would do everything possible that I could to make that dream come true. So I went to my parents and went to my grandparents and friends and relatives and tried to get as much information as I could. But, you know, as a young child, you know, you can't really remember things like that. You're more worried about other things. But my mom told me that she'd open a savings account for me. So she ended up doing that. And while everybody else was out, you know, playing and stuff, I got a landscaping job. And all the money that I got from that, when everybody else was out, you know, buying the coolest Xbox or something like that, I was putting that money into a savings account. And I just, you know, everybody else thought I was weird because I didn't have the, you know, the coolest stuff. And I was thinking in the back of my head, you're going to wish you hadn't said that when I'm older. So once I got into high school, I realized that there was a personal finance class that Family and Consumer Science was holding, and I said, I got to get in on this. So I met Mrs. Stahl, and instantly we connected, and I told her my story, and she did everything possible to help me out, and this class has just been a great experience. I've learned so much in this class, and I feel that it's going to help me succeed through my future, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next.
And
Second question.
for students that you had some amazing personal motivation that not everyone has, and somehow you saw the future a little bit more clearly than other folks do, and obviously so many young people and adults live for sort of instant gratification and don't think about the long term. For students that don't have that gift or that drive, what can we do to help them move in that direction?
I feel that, unfortunately, you know, a lot of schools don't require the subject of personal finance, which Ben Logan, my home school, in 2014 is going to make it mandatory to have this class somewhat. So that's a great thing because, you know, if you think about it, you know, these kids, if they don't have these kind of classes, they're not gonna know what's going on once they graduate. Because, you know, when you're 18, you're just like, oh, I can't wait to get out and be on my own. Well, they don't realize that money is everything, and they're not gonna know how to use that money if they haven't had any education on the money that they're gonna be spending. So they're pretty much going into life blindfolded. So, and then they're like, oh, okay, you know, they see credit card ads and stuff. Oh, I'll get a credit card. I can just spend however much money I want. And they don't realize that they have to pay that back at a certain time. And then they go into bankruptcy, or they go into really big debt, and they realize, well, okay, I'll just file bankruptcy. And they can't realize, they don't realize that they can't do that. And, that's going to be on the record for a long time. So if we have this kind of classes that are definitely mandatory for these kids to take, then they're not going to go into life blindfolded, and they're actually going to have some idea of what's going on and how to manage their money.
And my last question for each of you, then love to open it up to the audience, that you have here a lot of folks that really care about this, we believe, but we think far too many young people in the country have had the kinds of opportunities that you guys have had. And I think these kinds of opportunities better engage you in your future, better engage you in what you're learning in school, make things more relevant. But what would be your advice to me? What would be your advice to all of us if we want to have every single young person in the nation have these skills, have these experiences, have this sense of the future? What can we do better together? What can we do as a group to get us there?
Is to continue to stay involved and get as much people as possible involved, and just just stress it, like, because this is a crucial time where we need people like you guys to educate young adults. Like he was saying, they pretty much going into life blindfolded, and we just need you guys' help, because this generation like really needs a hero. And I just think that you guys had some brilliant ideas, and I just am so happy that I came here, and I am so grateful for this opportunity to be around all you brilliant minds. And I'm just so anxious to get back and share this with my friends and family, and stress the fact of how important financial literacy is.
One big point that I think it's really important is to start it as early as possible, especially so when we get to a point where we're in college, we don't make, oh, we're free, we can just do whatever. No, we already have that stable mind that, no, I need to, start finances now, so that when I do graduate and I do have my career, I know what to do. And it doesn't matter how much money I make, if I don't know how to manage it, it doesn't, it's not going to help me any. So I think it's very important to start as early as possible.
I also agree with both of those. Another thing that I really enjoyed is what we did earlier, the financial football. I think that was a great idea, how to do that, because, if you think about it, a lot of kids don't really realize how important finances are. So, even if you put them in a class, they still might get bored because this isn't important, something like that. But if you involve them into something they think's fun, they'll actually want to do it. Like financial football, okay, they're going to get interested in it. And then they're actually learning while they're having fun at the same time. And I think that's great. And also, what Precious said, starting at a young age, you want to get this in their heads as soon as you can, because you don't want to get in their heads, their senior year, and then they just get all this knowledge packed in their head at once, and then they're not going to get everything they need.
Douglas, you mentioned brilliant minds out here. We've got some brilliant minds at the table. Just appreciate your guys' insight and wisdom. Let's open it up to the audience for any questions for our three students.
Go to the microphones at the end of the auditorium.
Good afternoon. I'm so proud of all of you. My name is Sabrina Lamb. I'm the founder and CEO of World of Money. We are based in New York City, and we empower young people like yourself, and we start at age 7. If I could start at infancy, I would. I would like to know, because many parents share their grief regarding this issue, their pain, their fear, their anger regarding their own experience with money. Have you had candid conversations with your parents? And though I'm confident that they're very proud of you, have they or other adults in your life used you as an inspiration to become financially educated for themselves?
Yeah, like I said before, with my family, I saw them going through a lot of rough times at a young age, and I went to them, to learn before I had a chance to go into my personal finance class. So, yeah, that's what a lot of kids need to do, is just, go to their parents. But it's hard for the kids to go to their parents when they don't really know anything about it. So we need to have the parents start talking to the kids also. You know, the parents can't just let their kids grow up without having any clue about it. I mean, also, like we're talking about, we need to start having the mandatory class also. But,
Have your parents been proud of you? Has it been threatening to them?
oh yeah, they've been proud of me for what I've, what I explained earlier. You know, I started at a young age saving, and I knew how to start budgeting at a young age, and I wasn't really all about spending my money when everybody else was just, blowing all their money on toys and stuff like that. So sometimes, since they didn't have an opportunity to be in a family and consumer science class like I am, things have changed a little bit. So I come home and, they ask me if I learned anything different, and I'll explain it to them. And, sometimes they didn't know the things that I explained to them, and which is good, because even some of these parents that have been around it their whole lives still don't know some of the new things that are changing. So it's good for these students to explain it to their parents. I mean, because everybody can still learn.
Funny, I had the same question. My name is Dan Rutherford with the CFPB, and I just wanted to say congratulations to all of you for your success. And I'd like to kind of continue that conversation about the relationship between parents and kids and how finances kind of interact there. So maybe we could hear from the other two panelists, sort of what's your relationship with your parents around money, and what have been your best life lessons from them, and what have you had the opportunity to teach your parents?
I think one of the biggest things from my family that I have learned is saving, and like the whole principle of not using all that you have, and you're not living, like having fun right now, or not having fun right now, but having fun later, like trying to not live above your means. And I don't know, I just, as far as like really discussing finance, the family has not talked a lot about it. And I think that it would be a good experience for when children are going and learning in a personal family type class about finances, that they go along with it with their parents as well. And it's an interactive thing between the child and the parent.
I think first before we get into the classrooms, it should start at home. Like parents should educate their kids on how important money is and how they can make it useful. And yeah.
Got it.
Hello, I'm Joey Malisi, and I'm a senior at River Hill High School in Howard County, Maryland. This year I've been working on an independent research project alongside the Maryland Department of Education, working on their embedded K-12 curriculum for financial literacy. Just had a question for all three of you. What do you think your school system has done right with that financial literacy education, and what have you seen them do wrong, or have you seen lack of in their financial literacy education?
To be honest, my school, they really don't stress or educate the kids on financial literacy. So that's why, like I said, when I got involved with Urban Alliance, and the individuals from Operation The Hope started coming and started really explaining to the others how important money was, I started learning, like, wow, I really need to save, because we had a really good speaker. I kind of forgot his name, but he gave us like scenarios, like, our kids walk around with I happen to have some high price shoes on, and he basically told me, well, if you can spend $200 on shoes, you can save up some of that money, for college and stuff like that. And I took what he said seriously. So I'm saving, and I feel that that's why I feel that a lot of kids really need this education on financial literacy.
I agree with him too. I think it's a great experience, the class that I have taken. I've learned so much in that class. I mean, I went in there, I didn't really know a whole lot about finances and budgeting, and I wanted to learn. So I was completely open to everything that I was ready to learn and what was going to happen in the class. So I learned a lot about savings and how to budget my money. And before I attended this class, every couple mornings, I'd stop by and buy McDonald's and, get a smoothie. And then, those extra couple of dollars, once I got in this class, I learned that every dollar counts. And those couple dollars that I was spending every day, I stopped spending. And then I ended up putting those in my savings account. And over several months, that really adds up. And then another thing, I learned about interest and how I could earn money just by having money, pretty much. So I learned about money markets and certificates of deposit, and I went and Mrs. Stahl helped me out with learning how to open those, and I went and opened a money market and a certificate of deposit, and I already had a savings account, and just went from there. And
I think for college students, I think a lack of letting them know about stocks, because for some reason you say stocks or investing and everyone kind of goes no, they kind of get afraid. Or if you talk about retirement as well, they don't see any point in it. They're like, why do I need to be concerned about saving for the future? I'm not going to get old, even though we are going to get old eventually, so we need to remember that. And so yeah, I think the school needs to stress on those things and make it a required class. At the university that I go to, UCA, University of Central Arkansas, is not a required class for students to take, and I think making it a gen ed for everyone to have to take would be very important.
I know we have a lot of questions. Let's do two more, one here, then we'll close with hopefully these guys can stick around a little longer if you have more questions come up from this last final two.
Could I just add one thing to what Doug was saying? As a student in Maryland public school system, I agree with you that we have seen a lack of the financial literacy in our curriculum, but hopefully within the next couple of years, with the financial literacy curriculum put in place, we'll see students who are financially literate and are graduating from Maryland public school systems without having to take the step outside the classroom with the classroom teaching the students.
Beth Kobliner. I'm on the President's Advisory Council on Financial Literacy. I think all three of you are awesome. I think you're amazing role models for kids your age, and I wanted to thank Arne Duncan for the leadership you've been showing. You spoke at the council, you've told us to be bold, and it's really been, I think people are really listening. My question to the three of you, I guess Precious, you've dealt with this issue, and you other two guys, I wanted to know, do you feel your high schools, or what was your high school experience like in terms of getting advice on financial literacy when it comes to college? In other words, there's so much talk about student debt and the concerns people have about getting too much debt. Are you getting the information you need? And if you could just talk a little bit about that.
My high school experience, they lacked giving us financial literacy about how to prepare for school. There were not a lot of times that they told us ways to pay for it or how to handle situations, and also what to handle after we graduate as well.
I'm not going to say that I didn't have no advice, but my high school experience, I did have teachers, coming up to me and telling me, useful information towards dealing with college and money.
I think the complete opposite, actually. I learned quite a bit about saving for college, and they gave me a lot of opportunities about exactly what to do and how to do it. So they gave me every bit of information that I needed to apply for scholarships or how to save or just different things to do so that I could not go into debt once I go to college, because that's a huge thing for students because they don't realize how much money they're going to have to pay back. Because they see the number and they're like, okay, I could eventually pay that off. But when you have all these payments that you're paying back, you have interest on this, and you're going to end up paying a lot more than that first number.
And
actually, it's staying with the same theme. My name is Deborah Cromie. I'm with the nonprofit American Student Assistance that teaches students in college or helps them develop financial competencies and then helps them manage their student loan debt after they get out of school. So sort of following up on that, Precious and then for the two in high school, the financial acumen that you have developed, how has that changed your thoughts about going to college as well as how you will go about financing college?
Well, it definitely make you think a lot more, and just make smart decisions, you know, and to save as much as possible, because like my buddy said, every dollar counts, you know. So just, I know we young and we want to have fun, but we got to plan ahead. So it's always, you know, room to have fun later, and just plan as much as possible.
Pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, like you said, you just got to try to plan as much as you can. You got to prepare for the unexpected. So you just want to try to save as much as you can, like I said, you know, try to get scholarships, stuff like that. So I've done as much as I could possible to get as many scholarships as I could, get as many applications in as I could, because like I said again, every little bit helps. And, you know, us kids, you know, we can't really do it on our own. So, you know, you got to try your best through school to get the best grades you can. And, you know, with the jobs that you have, save as much money as you can. You got to work hard to, you know, succeed. Things aren't just handed to you, you know. You gotta work for what you get.
Well, I'd just like to thank all of you for spending a day on this critically important topic. We are not at a tipping point yet as a country. We're getting closer. I think collectively we got to get over that hump. Please give a huge round of applause to Precious and Matthew and Douglas. Thanks for the day. And if we didn't get to your questions, I apologize. You guys can stick around for a minute. You got a lot of fans out here that want to meet you. Thanks so much, guys.